Natural telepathy. Thoughts flowed as easily as breathing. Lies were impossible. For nearly 12,000 years, no one in the galaxy had ever truly been alone. Every intelligent species evolved with telepathy. Not advanced telepathy. Not magical telepathy. Secrets rarely survived. Every greeting. Every fear. Every joyful memory. Every hidden doubt. All of it echoed softly through the minds of everyone nearby. Wars ended quickly because no commander could hide his strategy. Politics became brutally honest because deception simply didn't work. Crime almost disappeared. Entire civilizations were built upon one simple truth. Every mind could be heard. There was only one exception. Humanity. The Galactic Alliance Senate floated above the crystal world of Aurelis Prime. The chamber itself was unlike anything built on Earth. Instead of walls, it was surrounded by transparent energy fields that revealed an endless ocean of stars. Hundreds of floating platforms circled a massive sphere of blue light, the neural core, a living network that amplified every delegate's thoughts so every species could understand one another instantly. More than 6,000 representatives filled the chamber. The greatest diplomats, scientists, military leaders, explorers, every one of them waited for history. Today, humanity would officially join the Galactic Alliance. High Speaker Vila stepped onto the central platform. His silver skin shimmered beneath the chamber lights. 4 glowing eyes slowly scanned the delegates. Then his thoughts echoed effortlessly through every mind present. Today, we welcome the final spacefaring civilization of this region. Thousands of minds answered with warm agreement. Curiosity, excitement, hope. Only one platform remained empty. The human platform. The massive doors opened. One man quietly walked inside. No armored escort. No ceremonial robes. No military medals. Just a dark blue diplomatic suit and a small silver notebook tucked beneath one arm. His name was Noah Mercer. Occupation: linguist, diplomat, first contact specialist. He looked surprisingly ordinary. Brown hair, calm eyes, a relaxed smile. Nothing about him suggested he was representing an entirely new civilization. As Noah reached the center platform, something impossible happened. Silence. Not in the room. In everyone's mind. The endless stream of shared thoughts stopped. Thousands of delegates instinctively looked around. The neural core dimmed. For the first time in recorded history, one mind produced nothing. High Speaker Vila frowned. He focused on the human. Normally, hearing another person's thoughts required no effort. It simply happened. Now, there was only emptiness. No emotions. No memories. No surface thoughts. Nothing. Vila increased his telepathic focus. Still, nothing. The silence was so complete that it felt unnatural. Almost frightening. One nervous delegate whispered aloud, something almost never done inside the Senate. "Can anyone hear him?" Thousands of telepathic responses answered simultaneously. No. Dr. Sira Naylan, the Alliance's leading neuroscientist, stepped closer. She had spent 40 years studying intelligent minds. Every known species produced unique mental patterns. Even artificial intelligences created recognizable thought structures. But Noah produced absolute silence. She activated her neural scanner. The device immediately overloaded. Its screen displayed a single sentence. Unknown cognitive architecture. Sira blinked. She had never seen that message before. High Speaker Vila addressed Noah directly. This time, using spoken words. Something the Senate had not done in centuries. Representative Mercer. His own voice sounded strangely unfamiliar. "Can you hear us?" Noah smiled politely. "Of course." The delegate stared. His spoken language required tiny translation drones to convert the sounds into every alien language. The process seemed painfully slow. Vila looked genuinely confused. "You communicate with sound?" Noah nodded. "Mostly." Several delegates exchanged nervous thoughts. Primitive. Inefficient. Why would anyone evolve like this? Noah simply waited, completely unaware of the thousands of silent opinions surrounding him. Or perhaps, aware in another way. Dr. Sirra slowly circled Noah. "May I perform a cognitive resonance test?" Noah smiled. "If that's part of the welcoming ceremony." "Go ahead." The scientist carefully placed a crystalline scanner against his temple. The entire Senate watched. The neural core amplified the scan. Usually, every delegate would instantly experience a tiny glimpse of the subject's surface thoughts. Simple emotions. Curiosity. Happiness. Fear. Instead, the scanner flashed violently, then exploded into harmless sparks. Sirra stumbled backward. The room gasped. The neural core suddenly shut itself down. Every floating light in the chamber dimmed. No one had ever seen the living network disconnect itself. Then, a calm mechanical voice echoed through the silent Senate. Not from the translator drones. Not from the delegates. From the neural core itself. A system that had remained unchanged for over 10,000 years. It spoke only 6 words. Warning. Unreadable mind detected. The delegates froze. Unreadable? That word did not exist in telepathic science. Marshal Crox, commander of the Alliance Defense Fleet, stood immediately. His armored tail struck the crystal floor. "This is impossible." He stared at Noah. "No intelligent species lacks mental resonance." Dr. Sirra quietly answered, "He doesn't lack it." Marshal Crox looked at her. "Then explain it." She swallowed. "I can't find it." Noah looked around the chamber, completely calm. "I feel like I accidentally broke something." A few younger delegates almost laughed. Others looked terrified. High Speaker Vila slowly stepped toward the human. "Representative Mercer. Do all humans possess minds like yours?" Noah thought for a second. "Pretty much." The silence inside the Senate became heavier. If one human mind couldn't be read, then perhaps none of them could. At that exact moment, far beyond the borders of Alliance space, deep inside a region no ship had entered for over 3 million years, something awakened. A colossal structure hidden inside a dead star slowly pulsed with crimson light. Millions of ancient sensors activated. One after another. An emotion echoed across the empty darkness. Not anger. Not curiosity. Recognition. For the first time in countless ages, the machine detected a civilization whose thoughts could not be heard. Its ancient systems issued a single command. Search for the silent species. And across the galaxy, a hunt older than recorded history quietly began. The Senate remained frozen. No one moved. No one even attempted another telepathic greeting. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Galactic Alliance had encountered a mind it could not hear. High Speaker Vila slowly dismissed the emergency session. Not because diplomacy had failed. Because no one knew what to say next. As the delegates quietly left the chamber, every conversation took place inside shared thoughts. Except one. Only Noah Mercer continued speaking aloud. It felt strangely lonely. Dr. Sirra Naylan caught up with him in one of the crystal corridors overlooking Aurelis Prime. The stars reflected across the transparent walls, making it seem as though they were walking through space itself. "Representative Mercer." Noah smiled. "You can call me Noah." She hesitated. "Would you volunteer for more testing?" He laughed softly. "I had a feeling that question was coming." She looked embarrassed. "You're the first mind in history we cannot observe." Noah shrugged. "Then let's figure out why." Several hours later, Noah entered the Alliance Cognitive Research Center. It was one of the most advanced laboratories in the galaxy. Every known intelligent species had been studied there. Thousands of crystalline scanners surrounded a circular examination platform. Marshal Crox watched from behind reinforced observation glass. He still didn't trust humans. High Speaker Vila remained beside him. "So," the Marshal whispered, "if his mind truly cannot be read, he represents a military risk." Vila answered calmly. "Or a scientific miracle." Inside the laboratory, Dr. Sira attached several neural sensors to Noah's temples. The scanners glowed softly. This device records surface thoughts. Noah smiled. Good luck. She looked confused. Why? You'll see. The scan began. At first, nothing appeared. Exactly like before. Sira frowned. She increased the sensitivity. Suddenly, every monitor in the laboratory lit up at once. Thousands of images flooded the screens. Not one thought. Thousands. A beach. A childhood birthday. A mathematics equation. A song. A half-remembered joke. A shopping list. A scene from an old movie. The smell of coffee. A dog chasing a tennis ball. A conversation that had never happened. An embarrassing memory from high school. The face of his mother. A spaceship blueprint. The lyrics to a song. A recipe for pancakes. The stars over Earth. A random question. Did I lock my apartment door? Another. I wonder why alien coffee tastes blue. Then, without warning, a tiny yellow duck wearing a space helmet appeared on every screen. It floated through space carrying a laser sword. Noah blinked. Oh! I was wondering when that would show up. The scanners overloaded instantly. Every telepath inside the laboratory grabbed their heads. Marshall Kroc stumbled backward. What was that? One scientist fell unconscious. Another burst into uncontrollable laughter. A third stared into empty space. I can still hear the duck. Dr. Sira quickly shut the system down. The images disappeared. The room fell silent. She looked at Noah. Voice trembling. How many thoughts do humans have? Noah scratched his head. I don't know. A lot. Dr. Sira replayed the recording. The computer counted over 14,000 separate thought fragments, generated in less than 8 seconds. The laboratory's central AI attempted to organize them. It failed. Message after message appeared across the display. Pattern not found. Primary thought unknown. Cognitive overflow. Marshall Kroc stared at Noah through the glass. He's hiding his thoughts. Dr. Sira slowly shook her head. No, he isn't. She enlarged one section of the scan. You believe intelligent minds think in straight lines. She highlighted hundreds of overlapping signals. But the human brain thinks in every direction simultaneously. Noah looked at the display. Yeah. That seems about right. High Speaker Vila quietly entered the laboratory. I wish to try something. Dr. Sira nodded. Vila stepped toward Noah. For centuries, he had been considered the strongest telepath in known space. He gently placed one hand against Noah's forehead. I will not force my way inside. I will simply listen. Noah nodded. Go ahead. Vila closed all 4 eyes. The room became perfectly still. For one brief moment, he heard something. A single clear thought. I hope this doesn't hurt him. Then, everything exploded. Not physically. Mentally. Music. Laughter. Dreams. Questions. Stories. Mathematics. Fear. Love. Thousands upon thousands of overlapping thoughts crashed into Vila's consciousness like a tidal wave. A child flying with paper wings. An unfinished novel. The sound of rain. The memory of falling off a bicycle. An imaginary conversation with someone who didn't exist. The taste of chocolate. A picture of a cat wearing sunglasses. A starship engine. A birthday candle. The smell of old books. A melody that repeated over and over. Don't forget milk. What's that alien made of? I should really exercise more. I wonder if fish ever get thirsty. Vila suddenly screamed. He staggered backward. Blood trickled from one of his glowing eyes. Every scientist rushed toward him. Noah caught him before he fell. Easy. I've got you. Several minutes later, Vila finally opened his eyes. He looked at Noah with complete disbelief. What was that? Noah looked genuinely confused. My thoughts. The high speaker slowly shook his head. No. That cannot be called thoughts. He looked around the laboratory. It was. He struggled to find the words. A universe. Silence filled the room. Dr. Sirra slowly understood. Telepaths evolved to receive one conscious stream at a time. Humans never had one stream. They had thousands. Constantly changing. Constantly connecting. The human mind wasn't silent. It was too loud. No telepath could separate one thought from another. To them, a human consciousness sounded like an entire civilization speaking at once. At that exact moment, an emergency alarm echoed across the research station. Every screen turned crimson. A long-range observatory transmitted a priority Omega alert. The duty officer shouted, "Unknown object entering Alliance space." Marshal Crocs immediately rushed to the tactical display. Size? The officer swallowed. We can't measure it. Speed? It isn't moving. What do you mean? The officer pointed toward the screen. It was already here. Outside the station, the stars began disappearing, one by one, as though something unimaginably large was blocking them. Deep inside the darkness, a single crimson eye slowly opened. Then another. Then hundreds more. The ancient machine had found the signal it had been searching for. Not a telepathic civilization, but something far more dangerous. A species whose minds could not be heard. The crimson eyes continued opening across the darkness. 1, then 10, then hundreds. Each one larger than a battleship. Each one staring silently toward Alliance space. Every observatory across the galaxy transmitted the same impossible report. Object classification, unknown. Estimated age, unknown. Material composition, unknown. The only thing every sensor agreed upon. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't even alive. At least, not in any way science could explain. Marshal Crocs immediately ordered a military lockdown. Within minutes, more than 6,000 Alliance warships surrounded Aurelis Prime. Orbital cannons rotated toward the approaching darkness. Planetary shields reached maximum strength. The Galactic Alliance had prepared for invasions before, but never for something no scanner could identify. Inside the research center, Noah quietly looked through the enormous observation window. Does this happen often? Dr. Sirra almost laughed. No. This has never happened. High Speaker Vila slowly recovered from the mental overload. His 4 glowing eyes remained fixed on Noah. I have experienced billions of minds. He paused. But yours? He struggled to describe it. It isn't one consciousness. Noah folded his arms. I've only got one brain. Vila slowly shook his head. No. You have an ecosystem. The room became silent. Dr. Sirra replayed the neurological recordings. Every second revealed thousands of parallel thought patterns. Some logical. Some emotional. Some completely random. Others were pure imagination. No telepathic civilization had ever evolved anything similar. One young researcher stepped forward. I have a theory. Everyone turned. The human brain doesn't transmit thoughts. It generates possibilities. Dr. Sirra frowned. What do you mean? The researcher enlarged Noah's brain scan. Look. When we think, we choose one idea. When humans think, they explore hundreds. Marshal Crocs crossed his arms. So? The researcher swallowed. So? No telepath evolved to understand uncertainty. Noah scratched his head. I mean, I do imagine conversations that never happen. Dr. Sirra blinked. You, what? Sometimes I argue with people in my head. You create imaginary people. Sometimes. And you speak to them? Sure. Several alien scientists stared at him. One quietly whispered, That's terrifying. Noah laughed. You should hear the shower arguments. No one knew what that meant. Suddenly, the laboratory lights dimmed. Every electronic device shut down. Not because of an attack. because something outside had begun broadcasting. No sound emerged. Only silence. Absolute silence. Every telepath inside the building froze. Dr. Sirra dropped to one knee. Vila clutched his head. Marshal Crocs collapsed against a wall. Noah rushed toward them. "What's happening?" Dr. Sirra struggled to answer. "It turned them off." Outside, the crimson eyes continued watching. The ancient object had released a wave unlike anything ever recorded. It wasn't energy. It wasn't radiation. It was mental silence. Every telepath within 5 light-years instantly lost the ability to hear another mind. The Alliance's greatest strength vanished in a single moment. Across thousands of worlds, parents could no longer feel their children's emotions. Pilots lost silent communication with their crews. Doctors could no longer sense their patients' pain. Entire civilizations fell into confusion. Panic spread faster than any plague. High Speaker Vila slowly stood. His voice trembled. He paused. "I've never been alone before." The sentence hit Noah harder than expected. Every telepath in the galaxy had spent their entire lives connected to everyone else. Now, for the first time, they experienced solitude. Some began crying. Others screamed. Many simply sat in silence, unable to understand what they had lost. Noah quietly sat beside Vila. "You'll be okay." Vila looked at him. "How?" Noah smiled gently. "Humans have lived like this forever." The High Speaker stared at him. "You carry all that silence every day?" Noah nodded. "We learn to live with it." After a long pause, he added, "And sometimes, we even enjoy it." An emergency transmission interrupted them. Every surviving screen activated. The image came from an automated observatory near the edge of Alliance space. The station was empty. Its crew lay unconscious on the floor. Only one recording remained. The ancient object had finally moved. Not toward Aurelis Prime. Toward the nearest telepathic colony. Then, it stopped. One crimson eye slowly turned. Not toward the colony. Toward Earth. Every person inside the laboratory looked at Noah. The object had ignored billions of telepathic minds. Instead, it had locked onto the only species it could not understand. Dr. Sirra whispered, "It isn't hunting telepaths." Marshal Crocs looked at the tactical display. "Then what does it want?" Noah stared at the crimson eye filling the screen. For reasons he couldn't explain, he felt as though it wasn't looking at humanity with hatred. It was looking with curiosity. Then every monitor in the laboratory displayed a message. Not in the Alliance language. Not in any known alien script. In perfect English. Unidentified cognitive species detected. A brief pause followed. Then another line appeared. Beginning first contact. The room fell completely silent. Because whatever had just awakened was older than every civilization in the galaxy. And somehow, it already knew how to speak to humans. No one spoke. The message remained suspended on every screen inside the Alliance Research Center. Beginning first contact. The words were written in flawless English. Not translated. Not approximated. Perfect. Marshal Crocs slowly looked toward Noah. "You never transmitted your language." Noah nodded. "I know." Dr. Sirra hurried to the nearest console. "We never uploaded English into the Alliance network." She checked every system twice. Then a third time. Nothing. The unknown intelligence hadn't hacked their translators. It already knew the language. That realization frightened everyone more than the crimson eyes. Far beyond Alliance space, the ancient object drifted silently through the darkness. Now that the telescopes had adjusted, they revealed a terrifying truth. The crimson eyes were not eyes. They were enormous observation chambers. Each one the size of a moon. The object itself stretched for thousands of kilometers. Its surface constantly changed shape. Like liquid metal remembering forgotten forms. No engines. No weapons. No visible technology. It simply existed. As if space itself had grown around it. Inside the research center, every screen flickered. A calm voice filled the room. It sounded neither male nor female. Old. Patient. Almost gentle. Representative Noah Mercer. Noah stepped closer. I'm here. You hear only sound. Yes. We hear structure. The room fell silent. Noah frowned. I don't understand. You will. Dr. Sirra quietly activated every recording device. The unknown intelligence continued. For 3,217,000 years, we have observed intelligent civilizations. The stars outside shifted as if responding to its voice. They all evolved the same. Collective minds. Shared thoughts. Predictable cognition. Marshall Crocs crossed his arms. And humans? The voice paused, then answered with only 3 words. You are different. Noah looked at the nearest display. Different how? The response came instantly. You imagine. Several scientists exchanged confused looks. Dr. Sirra spoke carefully. Every species imagines. No. The ancient intelligence replied. You calculate. You predict. You remember. The human mind creates. Silence returned. Noah slowly understood. You're saying imagination is rare? Incorrect. It is unique. The living neural core suddenly restarted by itself. Blue light filled the laboratory. Instead of broadcasting telepathic thoughts, it projected images. A child drawing a dragon. An engineer sketching a spacecraft before it existed. A musician composing a melody no one had heard. A writer inventing worlds that had never lived. A scientist asking, what if? The voice spoke again. Other civilizations discover. Humans invent. High speaker Vila stared at the images. We believed imagination was entertainment. The ancient intelligence answered. It is survival. Suddenly, another image appeared. Ancient Earth. Long before cities. Long before writing. A small group of humans sat around a fire. One child pointed toward the stars. The others looked up. The voice continued. Before humans built machines, they built possibilities. Noah whispered. Stories. Correct. Dr. Sirra felt a chill. The scans from Noah's brain suddenly made sense. The thousands of overlapping thoughts. Imaginary conversations. Songs. Dreams. None of them were meaningless. They were simulations. The human brain constantly rehearsed futures that had never happened. No telepathic species did that. They shared reality. Humans continuously created new realities inside their own minds. Marshall Crocs interrupted. If you observed us for millions of years, who are you? For the first time, the intelligence hesitated. The crimson lights dimmed slightly. Then a new symbol appeared across every screen. A spiral surrounded by countless tiny stars. We are. A pause. The listeners. The laboratory fell silent. The voice continued. When the first intelligent civilization awakened, we listened. When another appeared, we listened. We preserved every language. Every memory. Every thought. Noah looked puzzled. Why? Another pause. Because civilizations disappear. We make certain they are never forgotten. Dr. Sirra whispered. A living archive. The listeners answered. Correct. Without warning, every alarm inside the research center activated. A military officer burst into the room. Marshal! Crocs turned immediately. What happened? The officer looked terrified. Something just entered Alliance space. The listener? No. The officer's voice shook. It came from behind it. The main observation screen zoomed outward. Behind the colossal listener, space itself began tearing apart. Not with light. With darkness. A massive fracture spread between the stars. Nothing emerged at first. Then, hands. Thousands of enormous black hands reached through the crack in reality. Not physical hands. Shadows shaped like hands. Each one wrapped around stars, extinguishing their light. The temperature inside the laboratory dropped instantly. Even the listeners became silent. For the first time since contact began, the ancient intelligence spoke with unmistakable urgency. They found us. Noah stared at the impossible darkness. Who? The crimson lights across the listener dimmed. Its answer came quietly. The Eaters. Every screen in the laboratory changed to deep red. A final warning appeared. The galaxy has 9 days remaining. The room froze. 9 days. Not until invasion. Not until war. 9 days. Until everything the listeners had preserved for millions of years would be consumed. And for the first time in their endless history, the ancient guardians admitted something no one expected to hear. We do not know how to stop them. Then every crimson eye aboard the colossal listener turned toward Noah Mercer. Not because he was a soldier. Not because he carried a weapon. But because he possessed the one thing no other civilization had ever evolved. A human imagination. The words echoed through the research center. We do not know how to stop them. Silence followed. Not the comforting silence Noah had known his entire life. This silence carried fear. Across the laboratory, every alien scientist stared at the colossal listener floating beyond the stars. A civilization that had survived for more than 3 million years. Had just admitted defeat. Marshal Croc slammed both hands onto the command table. There must be weapons. There are. The listener answered. We have built suns into cannons. We have folded galaxies into shields. We have erased singularities. None of the delegates spoke. The ancient voice continued. They consumed everything. High Speaker Vila slowly looked toward Noah. What exactly are these? Eaters. For the first time, the listener projected an image. The darkness between the stars became a moving picture. Millions of years ago, an ancient civilization celebrated beneath brilliant skies. Children laughed. Cities stretched across continents. Music echoed through crystal towers. Then, everything stopped. The people looked upward. Not because something attacked. Because they suddenly forgot. Parents forgot their children. Scientists forgot mathematics. Pilots forgot how to fly. Doctors forgot medicine. Artists forgot their own names. Within hours, an entire civilization simply ended. No explosions. No war. Only silence. Dr. Syrah covered her mouth. They don't destroy bodies. No. The listener replied. They consume meaning. The room became still. Noah quietly whispered. They eat memories. The crimson lights dimmed. They eat identity. Another image appeared. This time, a library larger than a planet. Millions of books floated inside endless halls. One by one, every page turned blank. Paintings lost their colors. Songs disappeared from instruments. Languages dissolved into meaningless sounds. The listener spoke softly. When enough memories disappear, history never happened. Noah felt a chill. So that's why you collect civilizations. Yes. We remember. Marshal Crocs looked frustrated. If you preserve every memory, why can't you stop them? The listener answered immediately. Because memory is storage. The image changed. But imagination. The picture showed a small human child drawing monsters with colored pencils. Creates what has never existed. Noah slowly frowned. I still don't understand. Dr. Syrah suddenly did. She rushed toward the neurological scans from Noah's earlier examination. She overlaid them with the listener's archive. The results stunned her. No. She whispered. It can't be. High Speaker Vila stepped closer. What? She enlarged the comparison. The Eaters consume memories. She pointed toward Noah's brain activity. But humans don't think only with memories. Thousands of overlapping thought patterns filled the display. Ideas. Dreams. Possibilities. Questions. Fiction. What if? What could be? What should have happened? None of those existed yet. The Eaters had never encountered minds constantly generating brand new information. The listener suddenly spoke. Representative Noah Mercer. Yes. Please imagine. Noah blinked. Imagine what? Anything. The laboratory fell silent. Noah shrugged. Okay. He closed his eyes. He imagined something ridiculous. A whale swimming through space. It wore reading glasses, balanced a teacup on its nose, and politely apologized every time it sneezed. Noah smiled. Done. Nothing happened. Or so he thought. Every telepath inside the room suddenly gasped. Dr. Sirra stared into empty space. I saw it. Marshal Crocs blinked. So did I. High Speaker Vila whispered. It wasn't a memory. It didn't exist. The whale sneezed. Tiny stars burst from its blowhole. Several scientists couldn't stop laughing. One researcher actually fell to the floor. The listener interrupted. Confirmed. Everyone looked toward the screen. The ancient intelligence continued. The image has entered our archive. Noah frowned. But I just made it up. Correct. Silence. The realization spread slowly through the room. 4 million years. The listeners had archived only things that already existed. Human imagination had just added something entirely new. The archive had evolved. Dr. Sirra stared at Noah. Do humans do this all the time? Noah laughed. Every day. She slowly sat down. No wonder your minds overwhelmed us. Suddenly, every crimson eye aboard the listener closed at once. Emergency alarms exploded across the station. The calm voice returned. Urgent this time. The Eaters have altered course. Marshal Crocs rushed to the tactical display. They are attacking. No. The listener answered. They are searching. For what? The response chilled everyone. For the source of impossible thoughts. Far beyond Alliance space, the black fracture widened. Thousands of shadow-like forms drifted from it. None had faces. None had voices. Yet every star they passed grew dim. Entire constellations faded into darkness. The Eaters were changing direction. Not toward the Alliance. Not toward the listener. Toward Earth. Inside the laboratory, Noah slowly looked at the tactical map. My home. The listener answered quietly. They have never encountered imagination. They believe it is. A pause. A new source of nourishment. Noah's smile disappeared. And if they reach Earth? For the first time, the ancient civilization failed to answer immediately. When it finally spoke, its voice carried something Noah had never expected to hear. Fear. If they consume humanity, the universe may never create another dreaming species. The room fell silent. High Speaker Vila looked at Noah. Marshal Crocs looked at Noah. Dr. Sirra looked at Noah. Even the ancient listeners looked at Noah. Not because he was humanity's representative, but because billions of human minds were now the last defense against an enemy older than history itself. And somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, the Eaters accelerated. For the first time in millions of years, they had found a species whose thoughts tasted different. Earth had never looked so small. The blue planet floated quietly beneath the stars, unaware that something older than civilization itself was moving toward it. Inside the Galactic Alliance Command Center, thousands of holographic displays tracked the advancing Eaters. Every update was worse than the last. Estimated arrival: 72 hours. Marshal Crocs stood before the tactical map. We have assembled every fleet. More than 90,000 Alliance warships surrounded Earth's solar system. Carrier groups, defense platforms, planetary shields. The greatest military force in galactic history. Yet no one looked confident. Because everyone had seen the recordings. The Eaters did not destroy ships. They erased meaning. High Speaker Vila looked toward the listener. If every fleet attacks together, can we slow them? The ancient intelligence answered without hesitation. For approximately. A brief pause. 11 seconds. Silence filled the command center. Even Marshal Crocs lowered his head. 11 seconds. Millions of soldiers. Thousands of civilizations. Reduced to 11 seconds. Noah Mercer quietly stepped toward the observation window. Earth rotated peacefully below. Children were walking to school. Families were eating dinner. Musicians were writing songs. Authors were inventing stories. None of them knew they had become the galaxy's greatest hope. Dr. Sira joined him. You're thinking. Noah smiled. When am I not? She laughed softly. I still can't tell. The listener interrupted them. We have completed analysis of the human brain. A massive image appeared above the command floor. Instead of neat neural pathways like every telepathic species, the human brain resembled a storm. Billions of glowing connections formed, collapsed, reformed, every second. The listener continued. No other intelligent species produces this level of spontaneous conceptual generation. Dr. Sira enlarged one section. The average human creates thousands of hypothetical situations every day. Marshal Crocs frowned. Explain. Noah shrugged. We imagine tomorrow. We replay yesterday. We invent conversations. We solve problems that don't exist. We write stories. We dream while awake. The listener quietly added. And every imagined possibility creates a pattern. The eaters cannot consume. The room became silent. Dr. Sira suddenly froze. No. She whispered. I've been asking the wrong question. Everyone turned toward her. I kept asking why humans cannot be read. She looked toward Noah. The real question is, how can anyone read a mind that is constantly creating itself? The listener projected another simulation. An eater approached an ordinary telepathic mind. Within seconds, every memory disappeared. Then the simulation repeated using a human mind. The result shocked everyone. Every time the eater erased one thought, 10 new thoughts appeared. It erased 10. 100 replaced them. It erased 100. Thousands emerged. Marshal Crocs stared silently. It can't finish. The listener answered. Correct. The human imagination replenishes itself faster than the eaters can erase it. Noah slowly turned around. So they can't consume us? The listener interrupted. They cannot consume one human. Noah's expression changed. But the ancient voice became grave. They can overwhelm billions. The tactical display zoomed toward Earth. A black wave spread across the edge of the solar system. Millions of shadow-like forms drifted between the planets. Not attacking. Waiting. Learning. They are adapting. An emergency transmission arrived from Earth. The President of the United Earth Council appeared on the main screen. Behind her stood scientists, military officers, teachers, artists, musicians, engineers, and children. No panic. Only determination. She looked directly at Noah. We've received your report. Noah nodded slowly. I'm sorry. She smiled. For what? For bringing this to Earth. She shook her head. You didn't. It followed hope. The room fell silent. She continued. If imagination is our greatest strength, then let's use all of it. The listener suddenly focused on the transmission. We detect unprecedented cognitive synchronization. Dr. Sira frowned. What does that mean? The listener expanded the neural scan. Across Earth, billions of human minds had begun creating at once. Children were drawing impossible creatures. Novelists were writing new worlds. Composers invented melodies no one had ever heard. Engineers sketched machines that could never exist. Parents told bedtime stories. Teachers asked impossible questions. Artists painted dreams. Poets imagined futures. The entire planet had unknowingly become one enormous engine of creation. The human cognitive field expanded beyond Earth. Past the Moon. Past Mars. Past Jupiter. Like invisible light. The Eaters reached the edge of that field. For the first time in their endless existence. They stopped. Every shadow became motionless. The listener's senses struggled to interpret the readings. They. A pause. Are confused. Noah smiled faintly. They expected memories. Dr. Sirra finished his sentence. They found imagination. Then something incredible happened. One small fragment of an Eater drifted toward a little girl's imagination. She was drawing a purple dragon wearing firefighter boots. The shadow touched the idea. Instead of consuming it, the fragment changed. It shimmered with color. The darkness became light. Marshal Croc stared at the scan. What happened? The listener answered in a voice filled with astonishment. It dreamed. The command center fell completely silent. For millions of years. The Eaters had never imagined anything. They had only consumed. Now, for the first time, one of them had created. The listener looked toward Noah Mercer. Its ancient voice carried unmistakable hope. We may have misunderstood our enemy. Before anyone could reply, every shadow across the solar system turned toward Earth simultaneously. Not with hunger. With curiosity. The final choice would not be decided by fleets or weapons, but by the oldest power humanity had ever possessed. The ability to tell a story. No missiles were launched. No fleets advanced. No planetary shields fired. For the first time in the history of the Galactic Alliance, an entire war began without a single weapon. The 90,000 Alliance warships surrounding Earth remained perfectly still. Marshal Croc stood on the command deck of the flagship Resolute Dawn, staring at the tactical display. Every military instinct told him to attack. Yet he didn't. Because the listeners had issued only one command. Do not fire. Across Earth, no evacuation orders were given. No cities descended into panic. Instead, schools stayed open. Libraries welcomed visitors. Music halls filled with audiences. Parents tucked children into bed. Artists covered blank canvases with impossible worlds. Writers opened new notebooks. Filmmakers rolled cameras. Grandparents began telling stories they had carried for decades. The planet did not prepare for war. It prepared to imagine. Dr. Sirra watched Earth's cognitive field from the Alliance Research Center. The display resembled a living aurora surrounding the planet. Billions of tiny lights expanded into space. Every new idea strengthened the field. Every dream added another color. Every story became another thread. She whispered, "It's beautiful." The listener answered, "It has never existed before." Noah Mercer stood quietly inside the global archive on Earth. Thousands of volunteers surrounded him. Teachers, historians, poets, programmers, animators, children. One young boy tugged gently on Noah's sleeve. "Mr." Noah knelt beside him. "Yeah. Do my stories matter too?" Noah smiled. "They matter the most." The boy grinned. Then ran back to finish drawing a giant turtle carrying an entire city on its shell. Far beyond Pluto, the Eaters reached the edge of Earth's imagination field. Millions of shadow-like forms drifted silently. They no longer advanced. Instead, they observed. One shadow touched the edge of a child's fairy tale. Another brushed against a melody written by a blind pianist. Another encountered the blueprint of an impossible starship imagined by a 12-year-old girl. Every contact produced the same reaction. The darkness slowed. Then shimmered. Then changed. The listener recorded everything. Its ancient processes struggled to understand. For 3 million years. It whispered. We believed creation and consumption were opposites. It paused. They are not. High Speaker Vila looked toward Noah. What are they doing? Noah watched the shadows carefully. They are learning. One fragment of darkness drifted toward a grandmother telling bedtime stories to her granddaughter. The little girl asked, "What happens next?" The grandmother smiled. "I haven't decided yet." At that exact moment, the shadow froze. It had encountered something it could not understand. A future. that did not exist yet. The listener projected a new analysis. The eaters do not consume imagination. They cannot predict it. They cannot calculate it. Dr. Sirra slowly completed the thought. They evolved to feed on certainty. Marshall Crocs looked confused. Meaning? Noah answered quietly. They can erase memories because memories are finished. He pointed toward the earth below. But a story is never finished. Across the galaxy, the Alliance followed Noah's advice. Every civilization was asked to do something no military commander had ever ordered. Create. The crystalline artists of the Tharuan composed sculptures that changed shape every hour. The aquatic singers of Pelagos invented songs with no repeating notes. The engineers of Corlex designed machines that served no practical purpose, simply because they were beautiful. Children from 84 different species exchanged stories across the Alliance network. The shared imagination of the galaxy expanded. The cognitive field surrounding Earth spread beyond the solar system. It reached neighboring stars. Then neighboring sectors. For the first time, telepaths were not sharing thoughts. They were sharing ideas. The eaters drifted deeper into the field. But something extraordinary happened. One by one, the shadows began producing faint colors. Blue, gold, green, violet. Marshall Croc stared at the display. They are changing. The listener answered. No. They're remembering something. The oldest listener activated an archive that had remained sealed for over 3 million years. A single recording appeared. It showed the first encounter between the listeners and the eaters. Back then, the eaters had not been monsters. They had been explorers. Curious beings who traveled between galaxies collecting knowledge. Then, a catastrophe had destroyed their own civilization. With no one left to imagine. No one left to tell stories. They slowly forgot how to create. Over millions of years, they survived only by consuming the memories of others. They had not chosen darkness. They had fallen into it. The command center became silent. Noah whispered, "They are victims." The listener's voice trembled for the first time. "We never understood." Suddenly, the largest eater approached Earth. Its immense shadow covered half the moon. Every fleet prepared for the worst. But the creature did not attack. Instead, it projected a single image into space. A small child. Alone. Drawing stars in the sand. Then the image faded. The listener gasped. "That is impossible." Noah looked toward the ancient intelligence. "What is it?" The listener answered softly. "It is the last memory of their civilization." The hall fell silent. The monsters the galaxy had feared for millions of years were not trying to conquer the universe. They were desperately trying not to forget who they had once been. Noah closed his eyes, then looked toward the earth below. "They don't need a war." He smiled gently. "They need a story." At that exact moment, every screen across the galaxy lit up with the same request. Not from the listeners. Not from the Alliance. From the eaters themselves. Written in perfect English. "Will you tell us how it ends?" The message appeared on every screen in the galaxy. "Will you tell us how it ends?" No one spoke. Not the admirals. Not the scientists. Not the listeners. Not even the eaters. For the first time in millions of years, the entire galaxy waited for one human to answer. Noah Mercer slowly looked through the observation window. Beyond Earth's orbit, the largest eater drifted silently beside the moon. It no longer looked terrifying. It looked lost. Marshall Crocs broke the silence. "You cannot trust them. They erased entire civilizations." Noah nodded. "I know. They'll do it again." "Maybe." The Marshal stared at him. "Then why hesitate?" Noah smiled faintly. "Because humanity has made terrible mistakes too." He looked around the command center. "If someone had judged us only by our worst day, we would never have reached the stars." The room fell silent. High Speaker Vila slowly stepped forward. "For 12,000 years, Our alliance believed that hearing every thought meant understanding every soul. He lowered his head. We were wrong. Dr. Sirra quietly added. We understood memories. We never understood imagination. The ancient listener activated one final transmission. Its voice echoed across every inhabited world. Representative Noah Mercer. Our archives contain every language, every discovery, every civilization. A pause followed. But we do not know how stories end. Noah smiled. That's because stories don't exist to end. They exist to change the people listening. Across Earth, the transmission reached every home. Children sat beside grandparents. Families gathered around televisions. People paused at construction sites, classrooms, hospitals, and observatories. No government ordered them. No law required them. Yet billions of people quietly came together. Noah looked into the main camera. Then he began speaking. When I was a little boy, my grandfather used to tell me that every story begins with someone afraid. He also said heroes aren't the people who never fall. They're the people who choose to stand up again. The eaters listened. The listeners listened. The galaxy listened. Noah continued. There was once a traveler who crossed an endless desert. He became so thirsty that he forgot why he had started walking. He forgot his family. He forgot his name. He even forgot what water looked like. Then, one stranger offered him a single cup. The traveler asked, "Why would you help someone you don't know?" The stranger smiled and answered, "Because one day I hope someone does the same for me." Silence spread across the stars. The largest eater slowly closed its eyes. For the first time in 3 million years, it remembered. Not a war. Not a civilization. Just kindness. One by one, the shadows surrounding the solar system began changing. Their black forms cracked like old stone. Golden light emerged from within. The terrifying darkness dissolved. Not because it had been destroyed. Because it no longer needed to hide. The listener's senses struggled to keep up. Impossible! It whispered. They are restoring themselves. Dr. Sirra stared at the readings. Their neural patterns are changing. Marshall Crocs looked confused. They are evolving. No. Noah answered softly. They are healing. Across the galaxy, something extraordinary happened. Every civilization began sharing its stories. The Tharuan taught the legends of their crystal ancestors. The ocean worlds sang epics older than their moons. The desert tribes recited poems carried across generations. Humans shared fairy tales. Science fiction. Comedy. Tragedy. Adventure. Bedtime stories. No one asked which stories were true. Because every story carried something more important than facts. Hope. The living archive of the listeners expanded faster than ever before. For the first time in its history, it wasn't recording memories. It was recording imagination. The ancient intelligence laughed. A sound none of the younger listeners had ever heard. We thought preservation meant protecting the past. Another listener answered. But humanity preserved the future. The largest eater slowly approached Earth. Every fleet remained ready. Every weapon remained armed. Yet no one fired. The shadow stopped a safe distance from the planet. Then, it bowed. A voice unlike the cold mechanical whispers of before echoed through every mind. Warm. Gentle. Thankful. We remember. Millions of smaller eaters repeated the words. We remember. The darkness surrounding them completely vanished. Where terrifying shadows had once drifted, countless beings of silver light now floated peacefully among the stars. The listener projected one final announcement across the galaxy. Galactic threat status. Resolved. Then another message appeared. New civilization record. For several seconds, the title remained blank. The ancient intelligence looked toward Noah. Every civilization earns a name. The builders. The keepers. The listeners. The guardians. It paused. What shall humanity be remembered as? Noah looked through the observation window. Earth glowed quietly beneath him. Children were already outside again. Playing. Laughing. Inventing new games. Creating new stories. He smiled. We don't need a title. The listener answered gently. You already have one. The words appeared across every screen in the known galaxy. Humanity. The silent species. The dreamers of the stars. Epilogue. 50 years later. The Galactic Alliance looked nothing like it once had. Diplomacy was no longer based only on shared thoughts. Every council session now began with something unheard of in ancient times. One representative would stand and tell a story. Sometimes it was funny, sometimes sad, sometimes completely fictional. It didn't matter, because every civilization had learned the lesson humanity brought to the stars. Memories tell us where we've been. Imagination shows us where we can go. At the entrance to the rebuilt Galactic Senate on Aurelius Prime, visitors passed a simple bronze statue. Not of a soldier. Not of an emperor. Not of a conqueror. Just one ordinary human diplomat holding a small notebook. Beneath it were the words that every child in the galaxy eventually memorized. The universe was not saved by the strongest mind. It was saved by the one no one could hear. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, the former eaters explored the stars beside the listeners. Not searching for memories to consume, but searching for new stories to inspire.